What is going on, Notre Dame fans? It is a Thursday morning here for us on the Eastern time zone. And I know in Dublin, where the Notre Dame football team is currently, it's what, 3 o'clock? A little past 3:30ish. So pretty cool there. And over there, just saw a tweet from the Athletics' Pete Sampson that Zeke Correll will play on Saturday. So there you go. Notre Dame starting center will be playing. So that is obviously good news. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about in today's show. So please, if you're with us live, if you're watching back, hit the thumbs up on this video. We're going to be talking a lot of good stuff in the world of Notre Dame football recruiting. And of course, we'll take any questions, any super chats, talking some Notre Dame. And we'll talk about the game a little bit. If that's what you guys want to talk about, you just let us know in the comments. Like Matt says, Mike, you went nuclear with those predictions. I did. I went bold predictions in our show last night with Tim Hyde. Make sure you check that out if you missed that. Dynasty ISP says, morning. Hope you are well, my friend. C. Dot says, sup, fellas. Hey, C. Dots. Glad you are here with us live. Kyle, you doing well, my friend?
Yeah, I think so. I wish I was in Ireland. I love that place, but super jealous of Tyler Horka. I know he'll be there, I think tomorrow morning, good old-fashioned red-eye flight, but instead, I am in the Midwest, and I will be all over the Midwest over the next 10 days.
Yeah.
So that will be my little bit out of town experience.
Yeah, you have a cool 10 days lined up. Like some of the recruits you're seeing, I'm pretty jealous. Mike Hansen already asked if Bear comes to campus and wants to sign. Well, he wants to commit, I think, is what you're looking for the term. Does Notre Dame take him immediately? Let's save the quarterback talk. We're going to talk quarterbacks, and I think we did a couple weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago in our show, because I don't think we talked to a lot of quarterbacks last week. So we're going to have a quarterback recruiting segment for 2025. So, Mike, make sure you hang out with us there. So our first segment is, it might not lead the show each week, but for this week's show, we will. This Mike versus Kyle article, Kyle and I will take a topic every Wednesday or Thursday and just kind of give our thoughts on it. For this week, it was what Notre Dame football recruit had the best week one performance. So a commit, a target, so we'll just kind of give our answers there, and you can find the full story at blueandgold.com. So your answer was Bryce Davis from Greensboro, North Carolina, top 100 player per the On3 industry ranking. And we actually have, and I'll play here in a second for folks watching on YouTube, the clips from that game. So Kyle, can you kind of just break me down or break down for us why you picked his game?
Yeah, I said in the article, I don't know if there was any other high school football player across the entire country that had a better performance than Bryce Davis week one. But before I start to dive into those details, I think it's important to set the scene of how Davis picked up a Notre Dame offer, and nothing too crazy. He was one of about 65 players Notre Dame offered during their Pot of Gold Day recruiting event. Takes place every March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. He was one of 65 guys. I think they offered about 10 edge rushers that day as well. So it's tough to say if he's a legitimate Notre Dame target yet. Kind of more of an offeree is how I would phrase it. I mean, I'm sure this is a guy Notre Dame would love to have. Hasn't quite been up to campus yet. He does have Notre Dame in his top 12. And I did talk to Bryce about a month or so ago. He is super interested in Notre Dame, wants to get to campus. But until he does, not really sure if we can call him a target yet. But regardless, he needs to be one because in week one against Jadon Blair, the safety target that has been to campus for Notre Dame, against Mount Tabor, Davis absolutely lit it up. He had 12 tackles, had an interception, also had a 3 quarterback hurries, and caused fumble. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he was all over the field on Friday night. I know that he's starting to trend towards 5-star status. Obviously he has 30 or so spots to kind of move up, but if you kind of just look at his offer sheet, I think he has about 25, 30 Power 5 offers. Uh, and it's hard to, you don't really want to say you want to move a guy up the rankings after one game, but the way he played was pretty incredible. And I know you were briefly able to show the highlights. A super outstanding performance. I think that's a guy that Notre Dame will get in on a little bit more if they haven't ramped it up already. And that's a guy I definitely would like to see on campus this fall.
I'm interested. When you say target, like, what is your definition of target? Like, because you said I'm not sure we can call him a target yet. Like, what do you mean by that? Because that's not something we've ever talked about before privately.
Yeah, so I try to phrase like guys, I guess, offeree and then targets. I would consider Davis an offeree because, like, in my mind, a target is a guy that Notre Dame is in frequent contact with, has visited campus, has kind of expressed interest in Notre Dame. And as of right now, I'm not really exactly sure how much interest Bryce Davis has in Notre Dame. He has to get to campus in order to verify that. So, I think his ranking and everything like that kind of makes him a unique player for Notre Dame, a guy that they're certainly going to recruit. But in my mind, I just don't consider him a target just yet because I don't know how how much interest he actually has in Notre Dame.
Is Notre Dame targeting him?
I don't know. Guess we'll have to find out.
I mean, are they recruiting him like they're targeting him? Then I think
Is
he's
he
a
a,
target.
is he a target though? I don't know. Like
Yeah, they're targeting him.
a target is Deuce Knight and like Bear Bachmeyer, whereas like Antoine Hill, the other quarterback that they're technically
I,
recruiting
I
since they
just don't.
offered him,
I
but
just don't think there's like specific phrases for this. You know, like I think you're trying to make it a lot more difficult than it
hey
already is
man,
very difficult. And I feel like when you try to phrase, this is just an interesting conversation because I didn't know that that's kind of how you felt about the
it
phrase
is. Yep.
target. Um, yeah, that's not. Yeah, for me, like I agree. Antoine Hill is more of a long shot for Notre Dame, but I don't know. I had never really done like we're giving different terms for the two things. But yeah, that's interesting. So mine, the guy who for me, the Notre Dame recruit who had the most impressive performance, and I can't say I did like a crazy amount of research for this, but it's it, and sometimes for this Mike for Kyle, I just like to take something that I really feel passionate about, and we're going to talk about it. And mine's Jack Larson, who commits to Notre Dame last summer, a tight end from the Charlotte. So we're both going North Carolina guys. Picks the Irish over Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson. It's like, oh, like productive player, and just drop down the rankings everywhere. I'm like, what the heck? So Matt Freeman over at ISD. Matt didn't shoot these clips, so I know someone else did. So I feel comfortable using these on our YouTube channel. So, but Matt, really do appreciate you put this out there for us to use, my friend. So I think it was 4 receptions, 45 yards, 3 of them for touchdowns. Nice little seam route. I mean, he was pretty wide open there. I like this drag route in the red zone. Makes it a little bit more acrobatic than it needs to, but sometimes receivers have to do that. For some style points, and then the pretty back shoulder here. Making it easy, and I like that from Jack Larson. He's not the biggest, so I understand that he's not going to be ranked very high, right? He's like 6'3", I don't know, 220 or something like that, but he's not your Michael Mayer, but he will stick his head in there and block. I think he's a really good like move tight end, right? H back, get him in motion, throw to him in the flats on, a play action boot, that type of thing. Put him in the slot. Like I think that Jack Larson is, he's not, your Mike Mayer, you're that big body Cooper Flanagan, Cole Kmet. He's not that guy. Eli Raritan, but he is going to be he's going to be more of a more than serviceable for Notre Dame at the tight end position. And I do
What
like
you
that.
mean is he's going to be a stud. Jack Larson's a good football player.
Yeah, he is a really good football player. He is absolutely a really good football player. Again, I just think that for like rankings, like, oh, there's the more prototypical Mike Mayer tight ends out there who just flash a little bit more in that, but he's a really good football player, Jack Larson. And everyone I talk to continues to be really excited about him. Quick water sip, my friend. So when we do these shows, we have advertisers and stuff. I've never been more excited about an ad read before, Kyle, because this one is really cool. This is a really cool advertiser. This is the first time we'll be doing their ad read, which I need to make sure I'm logged in. Log in. Big time program we have here, guys. Okay, so it's Prize Picks. I don't know if you guys have heard about Prize Picks, but you have now. We're going to explain Prize Picks. Kyle and I are going to make a pick on the show today as well, live with you guys. I hope that's not taboo. We live in an NIL world, so I think it's okay to even make picks on college football. So we are going to do that today. This company, folks, it is fantastic. This is how it works. You pick 2 to 6 players a week, and if they go more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry, but it gets even better. All first-time users that deposit and use promo code BGI, just write that code BGI on your hand. It's our code for a lot of our advertising deals. So write that on your hand. Use the promo code BGI at prizepicks.com, and you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Just download the app or go to prizepicks.com and use that promo code BGI. And if you're curious about states you can use it in, it's most states in the country. So, and you can look that up. Hey, is Prize Picks available in my state? You can find that out. And it's not just for college football games. Like let's see here for folks watching on YouTube. NFL, MLB, college football, WNBA, MMA, soccer. How about this? CSGO, a video game, Counter-Strike Go. I mean, Valorant, trucks, tennis, F1. You have like NFL season, NBA season, NHL season, NASCAR, CFL, college football season. Like there's so many different things that you can do, just about anything. And I have an entry that I wanted to show you guys that I did. So they'll also have these, like kind of, I'm not sure the exact phrase they use, but it's like a gimme, right? So more or less a half a yard for Dak Prescott. They're basically giving you a freebie pick. So I did the Dak pick of more than a half yard, and then more than a half touchdown reception for Travis Kelce in the season opener against Detroit. I feel like that's a pretty good pick, Kyle. Like Dak's going to throw for more than a yard, and I think Travis Kelce catches a touchdown against the Lions. You like that?
I'd say so. Travis Kelce is a good pick there. I like that one.
So yeah, when you go to Prize Picks, let me refresh this. Like this is what pops up. If Dak throws for 1+ yard, you win. How about that? So Prize Picks entries must contain 2 or more players. And this, they call it a free square promotion, only guarantees a win on 1 player. So we'll kind of show how this works now. And I figured let's look at the board. Go to college football. Sam Hartman, 240.5 passing yards. I think we like the more there, Kyle. Right? Ooh, Kyle, thoughts?
Not certain. These lines are they're set, or these measurables are set for a reason. I think that Notre Dame might rely on Audric Estime. Not sure what the weather's going to be like. all those running back all
Okay.
those running backs in the backfield. So,
All right. What about Audric Estime, 82.5 rushing yards, or Sam Hartman, 13.5 rushing yards? So I do want to do a Notre Dame pick here, more or less. And folks in the live chat, please let me know.
let's rely on them.
Yeah, we might need you guys. And then next week we'll check back on these, but I might need you guys to help make these picks here. I think the Sam Hartman one, you could easily see Sam Hartman getting just 3 rushing yards. Like Sam Hartman's not going to want to run the football. But also you could see 3rd and 18 or something crazy, and he runs for 12 yards on one, right? He just tries to run and then he gets tackled and slides, right? But so I'm hesitant on the 13.5 rushing yards. Like you said, these are good. These are good numbers here, but what do you think?
Yeah, here's a quick caveat on the rushing yards, because I'm pretty sure that a sack will
in college football, right?
Yeah, so a little bit questionable on that Notre Dame interior, the offensive line. I'll have some more thoughts on that tomorrow in a column I'm writing.
Okay, all right. Let's
first time starters, but anyway.
Let's look at this, because you can do up to 6 picks. So let's see about this right here, and we can also include the freebie on Dak. So if we look over on the side, this is how this works. So if we're gonna go with Lux, because Lux is my boy, right? This is my boy right here, Lux ND. He says more on Audric Estime, 82.5. See, this is why I said I love this ad, because I'm reading an ad and we're also talking Notre Dame. This is awesome. If we go, see, I think Sam Hartman throws for 300 yards in this game. It's like his coming out party. We're going to showcase Sam Hartman kind of deal, but also weather, like you said, that's a real thing. So if we go less on Sam Hartman and more on Dak, this is really cool right here. So you can do the power play where you get 5 times if you hit 3 out of 3, or we could go 2 out of 3. And if you get all 3 correct still, you get, and you can see this entry into the 2 win there. 2.2 times, 2.25 times if you still get all 3. But if you just get 2 correct, you do 1.25. So I don't know. I'm kind of conservative on some of these things. So, and this is just for fun, right? For me, if I'm doing something like this, I'm just trying to have fun with it. So I would probably lean the flex play. What do you think, Kyle? Do we lean the flex play on this? Dak Prescott more than a yard on September 10th. So we will have to wait a little while on this. Obviously, we'll know how we did on the Hartman and Estime by when we record next Thursday. We'll talk about this. We'll assume that Dak Prescott will throw for more than a yard against the Giants. So we won't see the account difference, right? Because we won't have that this pick finalized until the Prescott game. But you know what I'm saying. So what do you think? What do you think, Kyle? Do we go flex play here?
Yeah, run with it. Absolutely.
All right. So we'll go. How much on the entry do you think, Kyle? How much you want to put on this?
$5 is always safe.
All right, we'll go 5. So yeah, if we get all 3 correct, 2.22. Dude, I can't speak. 2.25 times. If we just get 2 correct, 1.25. Sounds great. Okay, any props for Jaden Thomas, or any picks here for Jaden Thomas? So the receiving yards, let's see. Nothing on him, it doesn't look like. Reception. So I only had seen, and then Sam Hartman. So we could even go with Sam Hartman. Let's say more than 2 touchdown passes. Then we could do a flex play on Sam Hartman. We could really get crazy here. What do you like on the touchdown passes for Hartman?
More than 2. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is the final call. Audric Estime more than 82.5 rushing yards. Less than 2. See, that one's tough for me. The Sam Hartman 240.5 passing yards. We're getting the freebie pick with Dak. That just kind of increases our odds, right? Of making more here. And then Sam Hartman. So you're going for like 180 passing yards or something, but 3 touchdown passes?
I like 235.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just do it. Let's see. Wait. Cannot pick the same player twice in an entry. Okay, so this is good to know. So we're going to remove the Hartman touchdown passes. We're going to go the flex play. We're just going to go with the original pick. Did that work? Okay, successfully submitted entries. So here's the entries page. And I don't know, this just page is like just super cool. Like it's very innovative. We're blowing past how long we were supposed to read this, by the way. I'm just really into it. So there's my 2 entries that we have. So there we go. So yeah, folks, PrizePicks.com. All first-time users that deposit promo code BGI get 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Go to PrizePicks.com and use BGI. Download the app to play as well. Tune in next Thursday. Kyle and I will give a quick recap of how we did in these picks, and then we'll give a couple picks for the upcoming weekend as well. Luck says W ad. I agree. Andrew says very cool. Yeah. Like even if like Prize Picks isn't your cup of tea, maybe you can't do it in your state. Like we're still talking Notre Dame, football, college football, NFL. Your boy might throw in some soccer picks as well. So yeah, there you go. I know Kyle just loves when I talk soccer, just like I love when he talks, country music. So
Hey, that Messi guy's been pretty cool for Miami. I haven't watched any games yet, but
dude,
followed it enough
crazy.
on social media.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch last night's. There was like a domestic tournament in the semifinals. Of course, Messi hadn't played in the tournament at all. And now that was his first game of the tournament, and they just had a crazy game. I didn't get to watch it because I was doing the show with Tim, but yeah, fun times. But people aren't here to listen to that. So we are going to talk, we're going to talk some quarterbacks. I posted a pretty lengthy article. It ended up being about 1,300 words on Deuce Knight because Deuce talked after his game Friday. He also did separate interviews with Sam Spiegelman and Chad Simmons at On3. So just Deuce Knight weekend and early week at On3. So I wrote, this article, just titled it what it was, the latest on Notre Dame QB target Deuce Knight. So if you're a blue and gold, .com subscriber, you can read that full article. We're going to try not to give away too much from that article because, the website pays the bills. So we always recommend that people do that. And if you sign up before Sunday for an annual subscription, you get it for half off. It's only $50 for the year rather than $99. So I think it's like 15 cents a day. Like, come on, folks. Just the Mike Singer Taco Bell discussion on the message board is worth that. But yeah, just kind of your general thoughts, Kyle, on Deuce Knight right now in 2025 quarterback recruiting. We did talk about this a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, but any updated thoughts for you on Deuce Knight and Irish quarterback recruiting in this 25 class?
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Sam Spiegelman and Chad Simmons both had great comprehensive reports. I mean, they included every detail that you could ever imagine about Deuce Knight's recruitment for the most part. And of course, if you read any of those stories, they're both On3 Plus premium stories, but you can of course access all those stories with our BGI subscription. I know Mike just mentioned, but
I mean, I basically put all their stories into one, plus gave even more scoops. So throw your boy a bone. I did
yeah,
have some
no,
good
it
scoop
was
at the bottom of the article too about quarterback recruiting.
yeah, great insight there as well. So definitely
Thank you, my
check
friend.
that story out. But yeah, interesting recruitment. This is pretty much Notre Dame against the SEC. You see it right there in the On3 recruiting prediction machine. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Alabama. I think those are the teams to really know. I know they mentioned Auburn is a school that is starting to come along. Hugh Freeze has made a pretty strong impression on Deuce Knight since the August 1st contact period. Basically, college coaches can now get a hold of these kids whenever they want over the last month or so. That previously wasn't the case. So, interesting recruitment we have going on here. I think Knight is kind of getting a feel for where he might want to end up. I know there's a lot of good vibes around Notre Dame, especially coming off his late July visit. But anytime you start talking about all these other SEC schools involved, especially with Deuce being in SEC country, gets a little worrisome. So I think best case scenario here is Deuce hops on up to South Bend for a game this season and hopefully go from there.
I'm curious if you were to don't give me the percentages, but if you had to list like the RPM, right? Like team to beat, right? Because the RPM it's a lot of distance from home, recruiting prediction from like guys like me, and then amount of visits this kid's taken, which is, I mean, I don't know which. There's going to be more added to the RPM in terms of like, oh, X coach is recruiting him, and this coach does really well just in general, and then he lands a lot of recruits from this state when he's the primary recruiter. Like that stuff's going to be added to the RPM over time, but now it's just kind of basic. But I'm curious, like if you had to peg Ole Miss, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Bama, Auburn in order. I know that's a tough, impossible task, Kyle, but can you take a stab at it?
Yeah, I'll give it a try. I think right now, I think Notre Dame would be number one,
Okay.
just based off what you're hearing and kind of all the context of last weekend. I think you have to put Notre Dame in pole position. I don't know how big of a lead that is, but
Yeah.
my gut tells me Notre Dame's out in front. And it sounds like Auburn is skyrocketing up the board, being
Yeah.
number two. So that's my guess there. Um, I'm gonna go with Ole Miss 3, believe it or not. Even though Deuce Knight just moved from Mississippi to Tennessee, I think that Lane Kiffin is pretty dynamic recruiter and certainly made a strong impression on him. Deuce Knight actually visited Ole Miss the day after his Notre Dame visit.
Yeah.
So I'll put Ole Miss 3, Tennessee 4, just because I'm not sure exactly what route the Vols go. I think they're pretty invested in George McIntyre from Nashville Brentwood,
Yeah.
and then 5, I'll probably go with Alabama.
All right. I think we agreed on 1. I got Alabama in 5, but otherwise I disagree with you on all the others. And again, this is very, very difficult to do. I've got, see, you put Tennessee in 4. I would give them the slight edge. I just think that there's been something about Tennessee that he gushes the most about Tennessee. But again, folks, I would be pretty surprised if he ends up at Alabama. But and Ole Miss, I think between Tennessee, Notre Dame, Auburn, none of those would surprise me. I just think Tennessee's been maybe the long-time favorite. But I would put Notre Dame very, very close behind at second. I would do Auburn in third, and they're a very close third. It's kind of one of those deals when you look at like the team rankings, and it's like there's nothing separating third and 10th. Like one commit, you're shooting up the rankings, that kind of deal. Like when you look at the on-3 entry ranking for the team side of things. And then I would go Ole Miss in 4 and Bama 5. But guys, it's tough to kind of go back to this question, and this is where I wanted to land. So I'm glad Mike asked this earlier. If Bear comes to campus and wants to sign, we'll say commit, right? You can't sign until December. Does Notre Dame take him immediately? I think this is something we talked about recently, Kyle. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, right? If Bear wants to commit and you say, hey, we really want Deuce, can you wait? You probably lose Bear, and then you still might lose Deuce. And now you're scrambling. And Notre Dame had to do that in 2023. I think they could have gotten Jackson Arnold. They didn't. Went after Dante Moore. Didn't get him. Luckily, they landed Kenny Mincy, but I don't think Notre Dame would do something like that again.
Yeah, lesson learned from the 23 class, even though they kind of pulled the rabbit out of the hat, so to speak, with Kenny Mincy. That commitment just really came out of nowhere. I remember covering that recruitment, and when I heard Kenny Mincy, my jaw hit the floor. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, they're actually going to do this. And I don't think they want to be in that same position with 2025. Tough to say, though. I mean, because if Basically, if I'm Notre Dame, you have to know if Deuce Knight's coming to the Ohio State game by the time Bear gets to campus. I think that's where you got to draw the line. And if you know he's coming back, you got to hold out. But if he's still wavering, doesn't know if he wants to get back, he doesn't really know where he's going to visit yet, the timeline, okay, before the junior season, will that stick? I don't think you can do that. I think by then, if Bear comes to campus and all signs go well there, gotta take him. I mean, you can't fool around,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of how I feel about it.
No, and I'm in agreement. Yeah. We're looking at Bear probably visiting for the Central Michigan game, which is a week before Ohio State, right? So you'll probably have a better idea what Bear wants to do at that point. And if it's commit to Notre Dame, then you're in a really good problem, right? It's a great problem to have kind of scenario. But also Bear has taken 3 college visits, Stanford, Oregon, and Alabama. So Bear might not be ready. Maybe he wants to see some other schools. So I think that's kind of what we had talked about before. Like, oh, you offer Bear, he's going to probably take his recruitment a little bit longer than Deuce. Maybe, right? Because he hasn't taken many trips, but that's just maybe. He might just come to Notre Dame and absolutely fall in love with it. I'm told that Bachmeier's having outstanding conversations with the Notre Dame staff. And I will give a little teaser in that article I wrote. I think Notre Dame lands one of these 2. And that you do cartwheels if you're a Notre Dame fan. Going from Kenny Mincy, well, really, Steve Angeli, my boy. Steve Angeli to Kenny Mincy to CJ Carr to either Bear Bachmeier or Deuce Knight. Like, we've seen like a renaissance of like Notre Dame and the cornerback position, right? Look at these stud receivers, these young stud receivers the Irish have. Like, there's a renaissance for the Irish at receiver. Running back, this 5-headed monster. We're starting to see that quarterback now, where it's like, man, a few years ago at running back, Jafar Armstrong was the guy, and now look at that running back room. Like, I think we're starting to see that quarterback where it's like, yeah, Drew Pine's, a solid quarterback, but I think your number 2s moving forward at that position are going to be a lot better than the overall talent that Pine had. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about quarterback recruiting and Notre Dame, whether it's Deuce, whether it's Bear. I think Notre Dame gets one of those 2, and I think you got to be pretty excited about that.
Notre Dame just got to read their cards right on this one. I think Notre Dame thought they had the read right, I guess, initially on Dante Moore on the 23 class. Obviously, he went elsewhere, off to the West Coast. Detroit kid going to the West Coast, super interesting. But how about West Coast coming back to Notre Dame? So, see what happens.
The Dante one, Oregon to UCLA, like, I heard, like, he's thriving at UCLA. Like, he's doing really well. So I'm glad. If you guys, like, I've been able to, gosh, the amount of times I interact with Dante, text message, phone calls, in person, just a fantastic kid. So wish him all the best. All right, Kyle. So next, we're going to talk about my recent predictions I've logged, and I did 6 this week. 6. 2 Monday, 2 Tuesday, and 2 more last night. So I'm going to run through them real quick. And again, all of these were, broke down why I made the picks and whatnot at blueandgold.com. So just more reason, to subscribe to the website. Half off annual subscription right now. So we're going to go through these. Starting here, we'll go from the bottom to the top. Ivan Taylor. So on Monday, I did Ivan Taylor, Mark Zachary. Ivan Taylor, a top 100 overall player at the safety position. These are all in the class of 2025, by the way. So these are high school juniors. The son of Ike Taylor, former Pittsburgh Steelers defensive back. Kyle, we loved what we saw from Taylor at Notre Dame's Irish Invasion camp in early June. I think he and Derek Meadows were the 2 best players there. Notre Dame sources feel like Taylor's trending towards the Irish, and that things are just overall looking really good for Notre Dame here. Mark Zachary, of these 6, Zachary's probably the one I have the least amount of confidence in, but still enough confidence to log the pick. In terms of like the prediction or the confidence percentage, I always just do 60%. Are you doing a prediction or not? Like, are you predicting it or not? I don't get the whole percentage confidence thing. I understand why it's in place, but I'm not just going to throw a prediction out there at 10% confidence. Well, what's the point? So I just kind of go a standard 60%, a little bit more than 50-50. That's just why I do that. If you're curious, by the way. But Mark Zachary, look, Indianapolis, Ben Davis, Notre Dame has an elite cornerback from their home state. This is a player that Notre Dame needs to go get. So Notre Dame, Ohio State, I think Georgia offered recently. Mark Zachary visited for the Clemson game last year. I believe he was on campus twice this summer, Kyle, if that sounds correct.
Yes, once in June, and then came back for the Grill and Chill.
Grill and Chill. Another player for the Grill and Chill, running back Daniel Anderson from Bryant, Arkansas, also had a really strong camp at Irish Invasion. We'll be completely honest. When we're like looking through and doing all of our digging, and you hear Daniel Anderson, a running back with a Long Island offer, is visiting from Arkansas, you're not like, oh man, I'm going to watch him. So at Irish Invasion, we weren't keying on Daniel Anderson. And then he ends up, I remember talking to sources and they were like, yeah, Daniel Anderson, Notre Dame's offering him. This is big time kid for us. Like, oh crap. Like, all right. I wish we would have known that before the camp, to eye on him or key on him a little bit more. But Daniel Anderson gets that Notre Dame offer. So he has the offer list of Long Island and Notre Dame. Didn't know Long Island, a football team. That's D1. And then Colorado's offered, Mississippi State, I think Tennessee, Arkansas State. Kids started to blow up a little bit just from this summer. Went from 0 to 100, as the kids used to say. So I logged a pick for Notre Dame for Daniel Anderson. We'll probably visit the Fighting Irish in September, and then I think Notre Dame might be able to lock him up this fall. 3 more picks here, and then Kyle will give his reaction here. Ethan Long, from Brunswick School in Connecticut, 6'2", 185. The next 3 players we're going to talk about all visited Notre Dame in April and then returned twice over the summer. Like, Notre Dame is very strategic on when, like, there's a recruiting calendar. Here's when we want each player or these players to visit. You have your fall visits, you have your junior day, bowl practice, spring visit, spring game, early June camp type deal, and then that grill and chill at the end of the month. So Ethan Long visited 3 times in the past 4 months. And Kyle, you've been talking to him more than I have, but just raving about Notre Dame, and you could touch on that. Owen Strebig, I want to say he's probably number 1 or 2 on the Notre Dame offensive tackle board. I don't want to say that for certain because I don't want like someone else, another Notre Dame offensive recruit or offensive line recruit watching this, but like, what about me? All I know is that Owen Strebig is a huge target for Notre Dame on the 2025 board, top 100 player nationally from Wisconsin. Gotta love seeing Notre Dame really dip into Wisconsin. And I'm not even sure if the Badgers are like a major competitor against Notre Dame here. I really think Notre Dame is just the top school for Owen Strebig. And Kyle reported last week that Strebig's returning for the Ohio State game. Then Matty Augustine, a teammate of Ethan Long at Brunswick School in Connecticut. I mean, boom, Matty Augustine, Owen Strebig, 2 offensive tackle commits. You lock them up this calendar year. I think that would be insanely good for Notre Dame. Augustine ranked as a 3-star. He's got offers from Alabama, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Big-time player for sure. Both guys listed at 6'7". You love that tackle height and length. And hearing really good things about Notre Dame and Matty Augustine. So, offensive tackle Matty Augustine, offensive tackle Owen Strebig, safeties Ivan Taylor and Ethan Long, running back Daniel Anderson, cornerback Mark Zachary. What say you, Kyle?
Yeah, these are guys that I also like to see Notre Dame end up in the class. The one guy that I wouldn't be most sure about would be Ivan Taylor, just because he's in Florida, getting a guy out of the South like that. I know Florida State, some of those schools are coming after him, but it's a really good sign. The fact that he made the trip from Florida, number 1, to camp at Notre Dame with an offer, picks up the offer, then they're able to get him back on campus for the July 30th visit. That's not an easy trip to get back from Florida all the way to South Bend twice within a matter of 2 months. Granted, his father was Ike Taylor, so the Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback. He traveled plenty during his collegiate and professional career. And I'm sure it's no problem for them to get back, but still a super encouraging sign there. But the pick that I'm most interested by is the Brunswick school kids, Ethan
Yeah.
Long and Maddie Augustine. Maddie is actually he reclassified from the 2024 class to 2025. And if I'm not mistaken, Ethan Long might have as well. So both those guys are a little bit above their age, I guess, so to speak. And I think that benefited both those guys as well because they've, kind of have an extra year to develop in a high school system. And I loved what I saw from Ethan Long at the camp that he participated at in June. I think he was a top camp performer. I've said that on this show before that he was one of the best guys I saw in June. So that's a guy that if I'm Notre Dame, just based on the way safety recruiting has gone over the last few cycles, prioritize him like absolutely number one. Ethan Long. I know On3 doesn't have him rated yet, but he's starting to haul in the big time Power 5 offers. Ohio State, he's a guy that the Buckeyes have high on their board. They offered him after camping in Columbus, brought him back for a visit in July. I think it's kind of looks like a Notre Dame Ohio State battle, maybe Penn State lurking on the outside. But Maddie Augustine, another very interesting case because he is starting to reel in a lot of the SEC offers as well. He went down to Alabama, picked up one. And Alabama, like, that's really interesting. That how many guys do they have in the South in their backyard that can play offensive tackle?
Right.
And yet they offered a guy from Connecticut at boarding school or private school. So really interesting offer there. But yeah, I do like all 6 of those picks overall. When you told me ahead of time, I got the little scoop myself that you were going to make those 6 picks. I didn't think any of them was like out of left field. I think each one of those guys are trending to Notre Dame right now. The one thing that has me a little bit in reservation, which is why I haven't copycatted you and make some of the picks, is we got long time to go from now until signing day for 2025, about 15 months. But
Yeah.
I think you established pretty well where these guys are trending, and I tend to agree.
And just thoughts on the whole, crystal ball predictions, all this stuff in general. Because I've definitely got looser on these picks. I will fire them out a lot more now because I was more of like just maybe 2 years ago, old school journalism. If you're going to report something, you better be accurate. But this isn't really reporting. This is predicting, right? I predicted Notre Dame on our show last night to go to 11-1, for Sam Hartman to make the Heisman ceremony, Notre Dame to make the playoffs. Like, those are predictions. If Notre Dame doesn't do those things, you guys aren't coming after me, right? I understand on the recruiting aspect of it, like, Mike, don't get my hopes up because you are a reporter. You know these recruitments, like, so I understand that like the 11-1 thing is more of throwing crap on the wall and hoping it sticks. I'm not doing that with predictions. They're very well sourced, right? I don't just willy-nilly put these things out, but I also understand that I don't have to have 100% hit rate here. You know, this says all-time picks 73.7%. I'm 42 out of 57, but here's the thing. Let's see if I can find an example. Peyton Pierce. No, actually, hold on, guys. Give me a second. Because there's examples of predictions I've done, which I guess not many here. So maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there's been times where I'll like predict Notre Dame to land someone, and then I know they're not going to Notre Dame, but I don't flip it at the end. So I'll just take the L. So like, I really don't like when people put in predictions and then flip it at the last second just to make their percentage look right or look better, which I'm
Well, you did
having.
that with TJ Lindsey, maybe? Did you initially have
I
him?
will. I had it for Notre Dame. I will flip it if I hear he's not going to Notre Dame, or like Notre Dame's not a target. He's not a target anymore, to use
Exactly.
your term, Kyle.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
if I've heard, oh, he's a silent commit to X school, I'm leaving it. So maybe that was Lindsey. Is that why you brought him up?
I just remember that I think we kind of heard that Notre Dame was trending away from him, and I think you flipped it to A&M, but he ended
And
up
then he ended
committing
up
to
at Auburn.
Auburn.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah.
sometimes like I think I still have a prediction in for Ryan Wingo to end up at Notre Dame, and Ryan Wingo's not going to Notre Dame. I just haven't figured out. But yeah, here I could have flipped it last second to Auburn, but I just took the L. Right, I just took the L. Basically, if I hear a kid's a silent somewhere, I'm not flipping the pick because that's not a prediction at that point. You just know what's happening. So, yeah, that's like if we do a staff predictions article and I say Navy in Notre Dame, it's going to be 42-14 Notre Dame. And then in the fourth quarter, I change it to Notre Dame 37, Navy 0, and that's what the score is, right? And that's why I changed my prediction. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Anyways, I don't know. That's just kind of how I'm going. Just a little behind the curtain. Andrew Gilmore, $5 super chat. Appreciate it, Andrew. He says, one thing I was hoping to see in the Freeman era is Notre Dame landing good to great Ohio players. Is Notre Dame competing well for players in Ohio? Kyle Kelly, our Ohio residents. Your thoughts?
I was going to say, this is right up my alley. This is definitely something I've kind of tried to report on and, really cover well just because being in Ohio, I've lived in Ohio most of my life, and I feel like I know the high school football scene decently well. But yeah, I appreciate the super chat. And I will say one area where Notre Dame has done extremely well is that Southwest Ohio, Cincinnati area. They got Ben Minnick, in the last recruiting cycle, Emil Wagner beforehand, Tabron Beanie Powell's committed right now. Carson Hobbs is committed right now. I know there's a lot more guys. So that's been a place that Notre Dame has been able to succeed. But the big thing for Notre Dame recruiting Ohio is, of course, they're going against Ohio State. And Ohio State's pretty much going to have their pick on most guys. And just like some kind of random example, I don't even know if many Notre Dame fans will remember this recruit, but last recruiting cycle, there's an offensive lineman that Notre Dame really liked in Austin Sareville. He was from the Southwest Ohio area, played at Lakota East, I think.
Yep.
And he loved Notre Dame. Notre Dame made a super strong impression on him. They made the decision extremely tough, way tougher than that kid ever could imagine. But he took the safety net route, decided to remain home, play for Ohio State, was an Ohio State fan growing up. So that's always the big topic of discussion when Notre Dame recruits kids in Ohio. That's something I'm really kind of keeping a close eye on in the 2025 cycle because there's two recruits from the Cleveland area that play at Cleveland Heights, Brandon Caesar, defensive lineman, and Bryce Davis, who is an absolute stud running back and linebacker. Notre Dame hosted them on a visit for the spring game. They were supposed to get back on July 30th for the Grill and Chill cookout. Didn't make it. Brandon Caesar doesn't have an Ohio State offer yet, so that's interesting, but Bryce Davis does. But the other interesting connection there is their head coach at Cleveland Heights, Max Stevens. His son played for Marcus Freeman at Cincinnati, so Notre Dame might have a leg up there. So we'll see. Logan Thomas transferring from Katy Paytow to St. Edward in Lakewood and Cleveland, Ohio, Lakewood area. That's an encouraging sign for Notre Dame. I think they certainly welcome that transfer to get some momentum back in the Cleveland area. But Ohio's a good place for high school football. I think if I had to pick, might be the best in the Midwest. I know Chicago has an extremely strong presence, and Indianapolis as well. So,
Ohio.
Yeah. If Notre Dame wants to continue to succeed on the recruiting trail, I think Marcus Freeman, Mike Mickens, all those guys from Ohio got to continue to lean into the Buckeye State and go toe-to-toe with the Ohio State.
All right, good stuff there, Kyle. Love the insight. Skyline Chili, yay or nay?
I'm not a chili guy, so Not
But yeah,
a
Skyline
chili
chili, like
guy.
I love chili, but I wouldn't even call Skyline chili chili. It's Skyline chili. I don't know. It's just different. But I get
Interesting.
it. Um Mike Goolsby calls me the eternal optimist. The one thing that other than like NIL, which like man, I've said before that like NIL is one of the worst things that's happened to Notre Dame. Although I do think Notre Dame's doing better in that space, which is a different discussion for a different day, is location. Like you talked about Ohio State and like it's so hard to go in Ohio and land players. Did you even mention Brendan Vernon? Like there's I don't remember if you said Brendan Vernon in your spiel there. There's another one from
No.
Cleveland, like, and he was an Ohio State target, as Kyle Kelly will say, even though others will tell you he wasn't. He was. It's ridiculous. But like Ohio State has that background, that backyard of Ohio. Can Notre Dame still go in there and get Brendan Vernon's and Lorenzo Styles and guys like big time guys like that? Absolutely. But Notre Dame does not have that. Chicago still like you want it to be that for Notre Dame, but it's not. Like how Ohio State can build that fence in the backyard because all those kids grow up Ohio State fans, right? Or most, whatever. Like Notre Dame's just has not been able to do that in Chicago. And then in terms of the actual Hoosier state, Indianapolis, Kyle, it's not like you have Purdue, you have Indiana. It's not like Indianapolis is like, oh, we love Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame does not have that local base, but what it does have is I can go to Memphis and meet up with Notre Dame fans, and San Antonio and meet up with Notre Dame fans, in New Jersey and Atlanta, because I have met up with Notre Dame fans in all of those places. So Notre Dame does have that going for them, and that's why Notre Dame is a national recruiting base, because it can be, and also it has to be. But still, man, when you see Ohio State go into Chicago, which should be Notre Dame's backyard, and land Justin Scott, and then they can land most of the big time players from their home state, and then go into Georgia and land a 5-star defensive lineman in Edric Houston, it's like, damn. Like that kind of makes me disheartened a little bit. Thoughts on that as a Midwest guy, Kyle? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, no, I do, because I think you know this, Mike, and I don't know if much of our viewers do, but I covered Ohio State recruiting for about a year for Cleveland.com doing freelance coverage. So I was able to gain a little bit knowledge about the recruiting industry and certainly knowledge about Ohio State's operation. And just because I got to know some of those guys on the beat and things like that, I still keep an eye on what's happening with Ohio State recruiting and what kind of thanks for the comment that kind of caught me off guard, but I appreciate it. You're welcome. Anyway, I still keep an eye on and listen to the Ohio State recruiting coverage. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, Ohio State's still a national brand as well. They just have the that safety net of you know Ohio in your backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, like the recruitment of Aaron Scott was extremely interesting because that's a guy that I think Aaron Scott, a cornerback target for Notre Dame, left Notre Dame on his top 3, things like that. Never really ended up happening with Notre Dame, but he loved Michigan. He loved
Yeah.
Coach Clinkscale, their DB's coach. Michigan made a great impression on him. I'm pretty sure Aaron Scott was going to, like, he basically was going to commit to Michigan after his visit, but then he went visit Ohio State. Then he kind of realized, like, I can't leave the state of Ohio. So Notre Dame kept him, or sorry, Ohio State kept him in state.
Right.
The one really interesting guy there is Jordan Marshall, who's Carson Hobbs' teammate at Archbishop Moeller. Ohio State didn't really ramp up the effort as strong with him until just a little bit later on in the recruitment, and Michigan had a head start. Michigan landed him. So anyway, it's been impressive to see what Ohio State can do from a national aspect. I think Notre Dame kind of, you would think that with the Catholic schools across the country, that would be Notre Dame's safety net,
Sure.
but there are certain parts in the country that Notre Dame hasn't succeeded at there, such as on the West Coast in Southern California in that league where Bosco, Mater Dei, just their Catholic play, and then there's a school that Notre Dame's really trying to make headway with on the East Coast with Good Counsel in Maryland, and then you
Yeah.
got Gonzaga, and what's the other one? DeMatha. They've never signed a player from DeMatha. So anyway, that's my spiel. But yeah, I like to keep up on the Ohio State recruiting just because I think there's a lot of Notre Dame battles there.
Have they really never signed a player from DeMatha? I know Brian Kelly never went there.
Yeah.
Signed a player from
not in the internet recruiting era since
Okay.
02. So
Yeah.
I don't know about beforehand, but
Since
yeah, I don't
02.
know what was the deal with Brian Kelly never going there. I felt like I heard that, but just not a DeMatha guy.
The deal there is Brian Kelly never went to DeMatha. I don't know. It's weird. I sat in when Notre Dame was recruiting Jason Moore. I sat in that high school and met with the legendary head coach there, Coach McGregor, and the D-line coach there, and was told like, yeah, Notre Dame leads for Jason Moore. Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a good example.
You bring up the Catholic school thing, and I think Goolsby told me. Goolsby has said this before, like, and he went to, obviously a Catholic school in Chicago, Joliet, and he told me like, when you go to a Catholic school in Chicago and Notre Dame comes to recruit you, you're going to Notre Dame. Now, that's
what you think,
but
it hasn't been the case.
Later, like 23 years later, whatever it is, it's just so much different now. It's just so much more complicated and different. That's just high school football recruiting. So, all right, probably should have heard from our sponsor, Rogue Shop, a little while ago, but we're going to go ahead and hear from them now. Of course, you guys know what it is. It's the husband and wife outfit, Mr. Rogue and his wife, Shara, are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch sustainable plant medicine as a true holistic type of small business. They farm and grow everything themselves, do everything by hand. Check out their website, rogueshop.com. They sell everything from CBD to THC, edibles, tinctures, smokables, bath salts, pain creams, topicals, vapes, candles, soaps, and more. Hop on the website, chat with the owners of the store, and you can ask any questions that you have. Check them out, rogueshop.com. If you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, and or anxiety, stress issues. I got bit up by some ants on Sunday doing yard work. I'm sure that they would have some pain creams or something for me to help me out there. So again, folks, whatever you want, I'm sure they've got it for you. And you can use the promo code blue and gold, all one word, and you will get 10% off your order. So just put in promo code blue and gold. If you talk to the owners, let them know that Mike from Blue and Gold sent you. And yeah, one word, blue and gold, no spaces there. Rogueshop.com. Will says, what's the link? It's rogueshop.com. All right, we're going to do a couple comments, and then we're going to wrap up with some road travel stuff from Kyle. Juicy J, my boy, what's going on? Joining late. Have we discussed Gerby? We have not discussed Gerby. We really have been talking about 2025 recruiting, but in terms of 2024, Notre Dame's working on Gerby still. I'm really just he took his visits. I doubt he's going to take visits this fall. Maybe if he commits sooner than later, then maybe we'll go to that school to see a game. But I think his recruitment is pretty much over, Kyle. I'm just waiting for him to pick a school, and I like Notre Dame here. So why hasn't this kid committed? I'm getting nervous. I'm kind of with you that the longer it takes for him to commit to a school, the more nervous you should get. Like if Notre Dame's the leader and then you go a while and he hasn't announced a commitment, then why? So I get you there, but I am not hearing any reason to be nervous just yet. So we'll have to see on Gerby Lambert's. But again, do feel good with where the Irish are at. Will says, Kyle, pull up your Ohio spreadsheet. Will we ever see a Kyle Kelly spreadsheet? I love spreadsheets. I just thought those comments were funny. Kyle's a spreadsheet.
I got them up right now. My whole travel spreadsheet, the Target spreadsheet. Big spreadsheet guy.
You and your targets. But the thing is, you decide the target or not. Right? That is a Kyle Kelly.
Yeah, that is true.
You're the judge and jury on it.
Subjective.
Which you can be. It's not like you go in the NCAA rule book and they say commit or prospect or what. Like the word commit isn't in there, right?
Well, here's the other thing. I also define guys that don't have a Notre Dame offer as prospects.
Prospect. I've picked up on that. But there's the offeree versus the target. I like it. I like how organized Kyle Kelly is.
It's all fun and games until football season. Everything else goes out the window.
There you go. So this past Saturday, you got to see this guy, Logan Thomas. Like you said, he's from Ohio originally, and then he played his ball down in Houston, and now he's back at Lakewood, Ohio, St. Edward, a perennial power in Ohio, if I recall correctly. And we have some footage of Logan Thomas here. Just in looking at him, and when he's wearing that number 9, he kind of
don't say it. Don't say it.
All right, I won't say it. But he looks like he reminds me of a certain pass rusher who signed with Alabama last year, who Notre Dame may or may not had as a target, and then he went to a commit, and then he was a prospect per Kyle Kelly's terms. But looks like him. But yeah, your thoughts on seeing him, Kyle?
Yeah, tough not to see Keon Keeley
you said it.
Skills. I thought I would let the listeners know the name, but yeah, where's number 9? He's fast, he's aggressive, he's physical, but it's Logan Thomas, and he is committed to Notre Dame, and I 100% expect him to sign with Notre Dame as well. The coaching staff thinks they got a special one in Notre Dame, and after seeing him, it was tough not to agree. I mean, he's a great football player, and I did like I did a post-game report, then I did another report about just Logan Thomas's recruitment overall and kind of where he stands with Notre Dame. And I'm hoping one of my favorite clips comes up here. I'm waiting to point it out. But anyway, and then I did a 5 final thoughts just about him. And this is a guy I don't think Notre Dame has on their roster. I tried to, kind of outline in terms of the height at the defensive line position, the length. Notre Dame is trying to get or find improvement in both those areas. They did that in the 2023 cycle. They're certainly doing that in 2024. Notre Dame doesn't have a Logan Thomas on their roster. And I think as a result of that, this is a guy that he needs to put the weight on him, no doubt. He looks like 210 pounds soaking wet. It's going to be tough to keep that weight on, especially during the season. But he's going to come in from day one and have a chance to play as long as he gets that weight on him, because Notre Dame's probably going to lose Jordan Botelho. They do have Junior Tui Halamaka and Josh Burnham at Viper. Maybe Boubacar Traore as long as he continues to progress at that position. But Thomas is a guy Notre Dame does not have. They do not have that speed off the edge. They do not have that length. And it was a real treat to be able to watch him last Saturday. I'm happy that he's in my backyard now. I wouldn't have been able to see him if he was in Houston. But yeah, St. Ed's, they're a powerhouse. And Logan Thomas looks like their best player in 2023.
Yeah, definitely a good looking player. Kyle, I know you also got to interview him, so let's just hear the interview as well. If I can figure out how to yeah. So this is Kyle Kelly.
I'm gonna be embarrassed. I hate hearing myself ask the questions.
All right, well then
but go for it.
You can mute your audio. There you go, buddy.
I feel good. I was a little nervous about learning the scheme. Only had about 2 weeks to pick up on everything. But coming here, it's truly a brotherhood. We all bond together as a team. And like I was saying, I've been here for 2 weeks, but it feels like I've been here my whole high school career. Just the bond I have with the teammates playing together is just great.
How exciting is it for you to play your final season at St. Ed's back home in Ohio? What kind of went in that decision for you? And just some background behind that.
Yeah, so I was originally born in Ohio, so all of my family is up here. So it feels great to be closer to my family. That way I can have all the family support here. Also, coming to this school, they won back-to-back state champs and just coming to play the highest level of football I can.
Who from the fam was here today? Anyone special? Or
my uncle, my grandma, both my parents. So really everybody.
Is that the first time your uncle and grandparents would have been able to see you play?
The last time they saw me play was state championship my sophomore year, so it's been a good minute.
Wow. In that fourth quarter, specifically that final drive, feel like you kind of flipped a switch. Is that accurate, or kind of just what went into that last quarter and the last drive there?
One thing I just learned while I've been here is that we don't get beat in the fourth quarter at St. Edward Eagles. So Coach Lombardo harps on it, Coach Pappas harps on it. So when that fourth quarter comes up, we don't get beat no matter what.
Did you feel more comfortable in that fourth quarter? I know you said that you had 2 weeks to learn the scheme. Like, what was the first quarter like, trying to get settled in and that sort of thing?
It was a lot of thinking in the first quarter for sure. Making sure that I did my assignment. I didn't want to fail any of my teammates. But as the game progressed on, just got more comfortable with the calls and was able just to loosen up and just play football.
Speaking of loosen up, that chin strap had to be a little loose. What's going on with that helmet? It came off on both sacks, but you finished the play.
It's definitely not as hot as Houston, but it's still a little hot out here. So the sweat got in there. It was a little wet, so it kept slipping off.
I know you guys play a lot of Saturday games. Do you know when you might get back to Notre Dame, or what's the communication been like with the staff since you committed?
I'm trying to get up there as soon as possible. Hopefully, if we play another morning game and they play a night game, I can probably get up there since it's only like 3 or 4 hours away. But as soon as possible, I'll be up there.
All right. So, yeah, pretty cool. Good kid. I don't think I've been able to meet Logan yet. But that was a huge recruiting win. Like, when we talk about the 2024 class, he's not like one of the first guys you talk about. Like, when I say we, I mean just like the Notre Dame community in general. Like, oh, just beat out Texas, Oklahoma. Just, for a kid down there. And big time pass rusher. Yeah. One of the most important positions on the field, Ed, right? Viper, pass rusher. If quarterback's most important, you got to go get the other team's quarterback. Really good get for the Irish. Okay. We're running a little long, so we're going to wrap up with road travels, where we're headed this week. Mike earlier said, is Kyle going to see CJ tonight? Kyle, your answer. You seeing CJ tonight?
Let's leave it up to the board. And everybody in the comments, make the decision for me.
So this is CJ Carr's senior season opener?
I'm kidding. I'm 100% going to be on the road within the next couple hours here up to Brighton, Michigan, in the Detroit area to see CJ Carr in his junior season debut. I will not be wearing – senior, sorry. We've been talking a lot about 2025. But anyway, I'm not going to be wearing black. I'm going to be wearing a light-colored shirt. It's going to be hot. I'm going to be drinking plenty of this, but I am pumped to see CJ Carr tonight.
And for folks watching on podcast, Kyle just held up a beer. Kyle.
Maybe afterward. It's going to be a long night. It's going to be hot.
Yeah. That's going to be an exciting one. And as recruiting guys, we love Thursday night games because we can go to a Thursday night game, go to a Friday night game, and then you got Notre Dame on Saturday. It's perfect. For me, tonight, no game, and Friday night, no games. Saturday's my 30th birthday, so I'm working obviously Saturday for the game. So Friday, I'm kind of doing my big birthday bash with my friends. And all I told them was we are getting Anthony's for lunch, which is my favorite Italian place around here. And then we're getting Taco Bell for dinner. And then we're coming over. Everyone's coming back to my house for a good hang. So that will be my Friday. So, yeah. And then I will hit the road next Friday. I'll tell you guys who I'm seeing next Friday, and then Kyle will as well. And Kyle might be going to a game on Friday as well.
Yeah.
Kyle just hasn't decided. He'll be somewhere in his home state of Ohio. So that's going to do it for the show. A lot of fun. Make sure you come back next Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. That starts the show. We'll discuss our prize picks. We'll talk a ton of Notre Dame recruiting. We'll be able to talk about a recruiting weekend for the Irish. With Tennessee State coming to town. So definitely looking forward to that. Join us after the game Saturday. I mean, moments after, you can go to my Twitter. You can go to the blueandgold.com website. We will be going live as soon as we can to talk Notre Dame Navy. Sunday night Goolsby show. Monday afternoon, 3 p.m. Hey Horka show. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Me and Tim Hyde. So 5 days a week, we are going live on our Blue and Gold YouTube channel. And then Tuesdays, we got my recruiting update with Darren. Fridays, we got the final thoughts, observations, and predictions ahead of the game. So on our YouTube page, we have you covered with everything, Notre Dame football and recruiting. And of course, our blueandgold.com website has even more covered. So we really do have wall-to-wall stuff there. So please do check that out, blueandgold.com, and log into our YouTube channel as well. I'm Mike Singer. He's Kyle Kelly. We will catch you guys next time.